Welcome to this Bridgewater Now update. I'm John Luck. This past Sunday morning had residents not just here in Bridgewater talking, but across most of southeastern Massachusetts. A 3.6 magnitude earthquake hit at 9:10 in the morning, and it was felt as far away as places like Gloucester and Connecticut. According to the U.S. Geological Survey, the earthquake struck at a depth of 6.2 miles with the epicenter just south of Dartmouth. While a couple of homes in New Bedford had to be evacuated due to crumbled chimneys, here locally there was no reported damage, and it was a nice conversation starter for residents here in town. The last time New England had an earthquake that was 4 or higher on the Richter scale was back in 2012 in Maine. The Richter scale is used to measure earthquakes and the type of damage that could occur. With a magnitude 3.2 quake, it's felt by a few people and it feels like a truck speeding by your home. When we start talking about earthquakes that measure 5 and higher on the scale, that's when the damage is more serious and potentially life-altering. Now, we don't typically feel it, but we can get earthquakes of 2 and under on the scale frequently. Soil samples that were taken at the site of the old Rainbow's End playground here in town have tested positive for elevated levels of arsenic. The town was notified back on October 29th about the results, and the levels were high enough to require an immediate response action through Mass DEP, and there will be fencing around the affected area. Rainbow's End was located near the Massachusetts Department of Corrections and was torn down last year. Town Manager Michael Dutton says that both the town and the DOC are committed to complying with all regulations relating to the cleanup of the area. Over the past few weeks on the BTV Facebook page, we've shown the local numbers that the state releases weekly regarding COVID-19 cases in Massachusetts, and Bridgewater, along with Rainham, were in the red but have now dropped according to the new metrics for measuring the virus's risk in different cities and towns here in the Bay State. The new metrics are based on community population, and with the new metrics, Bridgewater has been dropped to yellow for a moderate risk of transmitting COVID-19, and Rainham has been dropped to green or a lower risk. Numbers here in Bridgewater, despite the new color designation, have shown some concerning trends. Going back to the start of September, we've had relatively low numbers for positive COVID cases, but since October 14th, according to the state numbers, the number of positive tests over a 2-week span have increased each week, as has the positivity percentage, which now sits at 1.46%. Residents went to the polls last week to vote in the general election, along with the 2 ballot questions here in Massachusetts, and this has been a unique year, but that didn't stop residents from voting. Earlier today, I had a chance to talk to Bridgewater Town Clerk Marilee Hunt about the election and the poll workers that helped make it work. So let's talk about the workflow. This is your second presidential election, I believe, as town clerk. You started back in 2016. How did the workflow go for you guys with early voting and voting at the middle school this year?
Yeah, it was a heavy load this year. I've got to say we've we put in probably about 3 months of solid work to hopefully make it seem like it was seamless for everyone. But just getting prepared for everything. We've done early voting before for the state elections at the Academy building, but of course, COVID has been our challenge this year. So trying to make sure that we could keep everybody safe, not just get them in and get their votes and make sure that that was all appropriately done, but keep people safe, keep our poll workers safe, and keep the citizens safe, and encourage everyone to really come out and vote, which is what we always do. We always encourage everyone to come vote, but we didn't want to be putting them in harm's way when that happened. So that's where early voting and the early vote by mail came in this year.
Now, I did watch some of the local news on election night, and there were a couple of incidents in Bridgewater, and I believe one was about mask wearing, and there was another one about a flag flying too close. It seems like there were a couple of issues, but overall, it seemed like a good day for everyone involved.
It was a good day. It was a good day, really. I saw hardly anyone who wasn't pleasant and making the best of it. It was a cold, cold day. So for our people sitting out in the tent or for people waiting there to find their precincts, they were cold. I know the early voters who were there by 7:15 or so, and we didn't open till 8, and we just couldn't let them come in until we had them all precincted and sorted out, and they were a little shivery by the time they got in. We did have one gentleman who came in and refused to wear a mask, and we had made provisions for that. We thought that that would happen, and we certainly were very well aware of our duty to let everyone vote. We couldn't keep anyone out because of not wearing a mask. But like I said at the beginning, the protection of our workers and other citizens was really paramount, along with making sure that people got their ballot voted. So we did have, the gentleman was asked to step outside and vote in the foyer, and then he was escorted to the ballot box to cast his ballot himself. We had another couple people who wore masks with political slogans on them or hats with political slogans, which are forbidden, and we have to ask for them to take them off. Most people were very gracious when they realized that that was just the hat they wear. They weren't doing it to make a fuss or to make a political statement. They'd take it off and put it under their arm or take it back out to their car. So really, it went very smoothly. There were very few confrontations.
There was a picture on the Enterprise's website. I believe her name is Anna Nacuzzi, a poll worker, and she was seen helping someone with a ballot that couldn't actually fill the ballot out themselves. How important is it to have poll workers and volunteers from the community coming out and be helpful and be that friendly face for when they cast the vote?
Absolutely. It's absolutely essential. We had greeters at all of our doors helping people sanitize, and we have wheelchairs to assist people in. If it can be a really long walk down that hallway in the school, or even just through the gym and back out. It's a long haul. So we encourage people to use wheelchairs if that'll make their voting time easier and keep them healthy. And Anna was one of our greeters who helped sanitize people. She helped all the way through early voting at the Academy building too, and we had the wheelchairs there, and she was always very helpful in getting people upstairs in the wheelchair and back out and giving them whatever sort of assistance they need. So we also had a translator on site who could translate Portuguese and Spanish if we had a need. No one mentioned that they had a need, but we did make sure that we had that. And we had the auto mark there, which can read a ballot to a blind person or a person who has visual disabilities. They can just feed their ballot into it, and it reads the ballot to them, and they can just touch a button that is Braille, or they can just right and left and up and down touch a button to vote their ballot, and then it'll read it back to them and tell them what they voted and let them take it down and put it in the ballot box themselves after it's over. So yeah, Anna is a godsend. We're grateful for her and all of our poll workers who go that extra mile if they see somebody who needs something.
And we'll have part 2 of my conversation with the town clerk coming up next week right here on the Bridgewater Now update. Turning to your health, and Thanksgiving will look different, much like everything else in 2020. The recommendations coming in over the past couple of weeks is if you're having a gathering, keep it small to reduce unknown spread of coronavirus.
Any gathering with family members has the risk of infecting any of them, and of course, the more vulnerable are more likely to end up very ill, needing one of us in the ICU. So no gathering is totally safe unless it's just really with the people under your own roof.
If you are having a gathering, it's important to know the day-to-day activities of anyone that will be coming to the dinner table. College students and school-age students may be at a higher risk of transmitting the virus. Something else to consider is precautions at your guests' jobs, including masks and how safety guidelines are enforced. You'll want to pay attention to the COVID-19 risk map across the country, and if your guest is coming from a high-risk state, they should quarantine before attending Thanksgiving dinner. Now, these rules and guidelines will be tough, especially when talking about family members coming to visit that you haven't seen in person in a long time, but protecting them will ensure their safety for long after a Thanksgiving dinner.
The patients I've had who've been at other family gatherings and like weddings who've gotten sick, there's just been a tremendous amount of guilt that's left on the people hosting the event. And I don't think you'll ever regret being extra cautious in the middle of a pandemic. The regret can only occur if a loved one gets very sick as a result of your gathering.
If it's warm on Thanksgiving and you do hold your dinner outside, you do still want to observe the 6 feet of social distancing. Doctors say the safest Thanksgiving gatherings are with the people that you actually live with in your house, or just go virtual altogether. Thank you for watching this Bridgewater Now update, and with this update taking place on the week of Veterans Day, we do want to thank all the veterans for their service and continuing to fight for our freedom each and every day.